right, good evening, everyone. It's wonderful to have you here tonight. I know some of you, I've met some of you are new faces to me. I'm excited to have you all here. My name is Lena Kushner, and I am the very proud head of school. And this is a great evening to just share some stories about Schechter, to hear some anecdotes about what makes Schechter special. And we're actually doing something different tonight. We have a different format than we've done before. And that's actually something that we like to do with our students. We like to do with our teachers. We like to say, can we re-envision this? Is there a way to make this better? Is there a way to make this more engaging? So I'm excited. We're going to be doing a panel discussion this evening. And in just a moment, I'm going to have everyone introduce themselves. But first, I think everyone here has had some contact with Hillary. Do you want to introduce yourself at all, or no introductions are necessary?
Yeah, okay.
No introductions are necessary. You know Hillary. And in just a few moments, Suzanne Mishkin, who's our K-8 principal, is going to be coming in, and Nancy Kaplan, who's our associate head of school. So they will jump into the discussion, but they're just waiting to greet if anyone else is coming in. And we have the opportunity to hear from a wide range of people this evening. So I'm going to have everyone first just introduce themselves and their connection to Schechter, and then we'll jump in with a bit of a panel discussion. So actually, I'm going to do one thing to introduce myself first, and then Scott, I'm going to hand it off to you. Not only am I the head of school, I am an alum of this institution. I married an alum. I met him here, so I always say it does happen. We met when we were little kids. I have two children who are alumni of this school. One is a college graduate now, and one is a junior at University of Michigan. And I've been around. When people say, how long have you been here? I say it really depends how you count. I started teaching here in 1997 as a third grade teacher. I did teach one person in this room. I won't call him out. He can decide if he wants to be called out. And I was curriculum coordinator for many years, principal for many years, and this is my 8th year as head of school. So that's my Schechter story. Scott, I'm going to hand it off to you, and we'll just go through the panel.
Sure. Hi, I'm Scott Perlin. This is the first year in 13 years I haven't had a child at this school. I put 3 kids through K-8, with the last one finishing up last year. I grew up in this area and participated in public school my whole life. So I was sort of foreign to Schechter. I knew people who came here. My wife was the proponent of Schechter, and it wasn't a case of the wife always wins. There was good communication about it, but I remember being in your guys' seats and thinking about this decision. It's a big decision, and for us it was the right decision, and I'm sure we'll get into more.
I'm Danielle Pearl. I am a current parent. I have 3 children. My oldest is in high school. And then my 2 children who are here, I have a current 8th grader and a 6th grader. And we came to Schechter later. My children did not start their Schechter journey in kindergarten. So we sort of transferred in. And as my husband and I can tell you, and as my 2 children can tell you, it's been one of the best decisions we've made. And I will also get into it a little bit more.
Hi everyone, my name is Aviva Levine Jacobs. We also did not begin our journey at Schechter. I'm from the West Coast, from California, and we moved to this area when my oldest daughter was starting 2nd grade. She's now in 9th grade at Rochelle Zell, so I'm the proud parent of an alum. I also have a 5th grader, and I have a kindergartner. So we are really in it right now, and can speak to really, I think, the different stages of the Schechter experience and the Schechter education. I also will say, when we moved here, we knew some people connected to the school and the community, but neither of us went here. We don't have family here. And I will also just say I wouldn't be sitting here if it were not true. But we really feel so fortunate that we landed in this community, not only for our children, but also for ourselves.
Hi, good evening. My name is Shauna Schulter. I am the kindergarten general studies teacher. proud teacher of one of the, of Maytal, who is in my class. I absolutely love working here for many reasons, and I'll get into that as well. However, I also have 3 young adult children, I guess I should call them, who are also alumni of this school. So this is my 5th year here. You know, better relationships. I did not work here when they were here, gave them their years here. I've been in education for a very long time, but it was wonderful to start my journey here after being a parent here for many, many years and switching my role and my hat into becoming a kindergarten teacher, which I absolutely adore every day.
Hi everyone, my name is Lauren Patinkin. I am a 2nd grade general studies teacher, and I also support in other areas of the school, which we'll get into later. I have been here for 10 years. I taught in public schools and also overseas in Australia for a few years, but I always say this will be the last school I teach at. I never want to leave Schechter. It is my favorite place. It is not just work for me, but I really love coming here every single day, and I feel so lucky that I get to say, like, I actually love my job. So, because I don't think everyone in the world is as fortunate to be able to say that. So I'm looking forward to sharing more with you throughout the evening.
Totally echo. It's like when you wake up in the morning and we're just so happy to go where you go. My name is Ronit Levy, and this is my 20th year teaching in the States and in Israel, also 2 years. This is my 5th year in Schechter, coming back. I used to teach here 7 years ago. I'm so lucky to be back here. It's an amazing school. As we say, like, you wake up in the morning when a child is just so happy and excited to go to school. That is the feeling, and I will explain more about it too.
Hi everyone, my name is Yoav Bar-Levy. I'm a senior at Rochelle Zell Jewish High School, and I went to Schechter for all 9 years, so I've had the entire Schechter experience, and I'm excited to share that with you.
Yeah, I'm Lily Benenson. I'm a senior at Highland Park High School. I went to Schechter K-8. My siblings went here. My mom went here. So, yeah.
And Suzanne and Nancy, I told them you were going to be coming in. How about if you introduced yourselves?
Hi, I'm Suzanne Mishkin. I am the Sager School principal, and I also have 2 alum. I have 2 kids who graduated. One's a sophomore and one is a freshman, both at the academy. And I have a current 4th grader, and I'm so happy to welcome you here.
Hi, I'm Nancy Kaplan. I'm the associate head of school. It's nice to meet everybody. I have been here 10 years now, and I have 2 children, a 4th grader and a 6th grader who are here.
So the way we're going to run this evening is I'm going to ask some questions that we know are kind of common themes that prospective families are thinking about, and we're going to bounce it around. Not everyone is going to speak on every question, but I'm going to start to facilitate, and then we'll open it up to questions after that, because there may be things that are on your mind that we didn't cover in the conversation, especially because it's more conversational and informal, so there may be some pieces that you want to follow up on. So, Scott, I'm going to start with you, and I'm going to ask you to share a little bit about academics at Schechter. We really pride ourselves on an exemplary academic program. Can you speak a little bit about your experience with your children in terms of the academics, the core academics?
Sure. So, like I mentioned, I had 3 kids, a motivated go-getter, a little bit more challenged one, and then I'd say one kind of in between. You guys could get your guess. And what I'd say is that there was appropriate challenges and kind of oversight for all of them. And let me just give a few antidotes. So in terms of challenges, I saw my oldest kid, who was the go-getter, I was his proofreader. So the one thing I'd say about the kind of programming here is just the writing education is fantastic. And I watched over the years as his capability progressed in a manner that blew me away. And I think that's largely due to the way the teachers teach and challenge the kids. So the kind of when I think of the two skills that my kids took from Schechter, kind of on the academic side, that are life skills and massively important, it's writing and it's public speaking as well. So whether it's getting up at a young age reading Torah, or in assembly, or in doing some type of presentation at a, I don't know what grade, maybe second grade, it starts very young and they get very comfortable with it. And as we know, we're all adults. I mean, public speaking is important, writing is important. The other thing I'd say on the academic side, I said I had a little bit challenged one. So I think we call it resource, is that what it's called? So my child would get pulled out for extra help in a one-on-one setting, almost like a tutor, almost every day. You say, well, what are they missing when they do that? I think the school is thoughtful in what they're missing. So, like, to us, we felt comfortable pulling them out of some of the Judaic program to get them supplemented in English or in math. And that's an example of, I think, the school creatively working with the family to construct a program for your child. Lastly, I'd say the faculty are the ultimate salesmen of the curriculum, and your kids have to buy into what those teachers are selling them. And there wasn't one teacher that my child came home and said, Mr. So-and-so sucks, or Miss So-and-so is so annoying. Massive respect for every teacher they had over the years, and to me, incentives make the world go round, and having your kid believe in the teacher translates to good outcomes. So.
Thank you so much. So to move in a little bit, to hear from some of our teachers about, okay, that's some of the experience, and I know parents may pop in more in a little bit on the next round, but would love to hear a little bit from you.
Great, I'm gonna actually, Scott, just piggyback on two things that I heard that you were saying. And pulling from our philosophy of education. So one of them is about the relationship piece. I think that we pride ourselves on the relationship, not only with our students, but with our families. And I think that starts the very beginning. No matter if you transfer in, or if you're starting in kindergarten, or if you come in later, we're all about building relationships. You can't do anything unless you have the trust and you build a relationship. Another thing that we're so unique is that we have an amazing ratio of teachers to students. And when I heard you saying, we also pride ourselves in our educational philosophy is that children learn in a variety of different ways. You know, period. They learn in a variety of different ways. We can't make one curriculum and expect them to do everything all the same. So we're also blessed. We have so many amazing resources, so many faculty, so many educators that are experts in this area, and we use them every single day. So we do that in a way of either with our rigorous, our rigorous curriculum. We can have an enrichment, and we can challenge them even more so. Or on the flip side, if they need any enrichment, we can do that. And I think this is over the years, not only in the general studies curriculum, but also in the Judaic studies curriculum. So it's across the board. We have that availability. And I just want to if I can, I don't know the time frame. This year, I'm thrilled about is that we have a partnership with Keshet, and that right now in our kindergarten, we have some partners with their families and with Keshet, they're Schechter students, that we work together as a team to give these families education, Jewish education, despite any kind of challenges that they might have. We can service them in our normal, I'm sorry, it's vibrating and I have to take that out of here. We service them in any way that we can. We build a relationship with the families. And also during the day, we have access to all of that within the days, from, you know, the 8 hours that we have them. So I just think that's really important to share.
To add on to that, I want to talk about two separate but together things. Many of us in this room are true believers in being lifelong learners, and I want to say the school and our administration provides an opportunity for the teachers to become lifelong learners. We're constantly, as Scott said, reassessing curriculum, making sure that we're providing the best curriculum we can for our students, and I think that really speaks volume that there's time and energy and resources put into the teachers becoming better educators, because Schechter is a perfect synergy of many of our passions and lives in education and Judaism, and it's really great that we get to have both of those experiences. And then I want to talk a little bit about what Scott was saying, how we're able to meet the needs of so many different learners. So as Shanna mentioned, we have a lot of adults support in the building. So how the schedule works in the lower grade classes is there are two main teachers for every student. They have a Judaics teacher, and then they have their general studies teacher. And when the students for one grade are in their Judaics class, it gives the general studies teacher time to support another grade. And what is so cool about our school is that looks different every single year, depending on what each cohort needs. And so sometimes, as was mentioned, there are students who are really understanding the curriculum, and they need that extra push and that enrichment and that higher level thinking. And it might be in math, it might be in reading, it might be in comprehension, it can be in a variety of areas. And we are able to, because of our grouping and our teachers, able to provide that. We might have students who are really focusing on just one aspect of a literacy where they're needing extra support or intervention. And we can truly tailor our push and support, our teachers who are pushing in and helping to what those kids need. And what I think is really beautiful about our school, I know when I grew up, there was like a stigma if you were like working in a small group, or if you were pulled out, or a teacher was pushing into the classroom to work with you. The kids are excited. They're like, I want to go with this teacher today. When can I get to work with this teacher? And it's flexible throughout the year. So another beautiful thing about our school is they give us teachers time to collaborate with our colleagues to be like, what's working, what's not working. Look at actual data to say, hey, like, this program is working for these students, let's continue. Or, this student doesn't need as much support anymore, let's change things around. So throughout the year, we're constantly changing our groups so that you're not set in one place for the whole year. You're getting what you need when you need it. And it's really nice because the students feel that they're getting the support they need. Like I said, there isn't this stigma about working with different teachers. It's actually an exciting thing that the kids want to be able to do. I could talk on and on about how lucky we are to have this model at our school, but I tend to talk a lot when I get nervous, so I'm going to stop and let someone else talk. So.
You're doing great. You're doing great. So I'm going to come to you and ask, can you talk a little bit about, from a high school preparedness level in terms of academics, did you feel prepared? How can you reflect on how Schechter got you ready for high school?
Yeah, so I want to talk about something specifically, just the dual curriculum here at Schechter. I think that's something that's very unique and special to Schechter. So what's special about Schechter's dual curriculum is it's not just Jewish studies classes and general studies classes. It's the way that these sets of classes actually complement each other and the way they're integrated. So for example, whether we're tearing texts apart in Talmud class and learning these critical thinking and analytical thinking skills and applying them to books we're reading in English class, just the way that these classes are integrated together makes the dual curriculum very effective at teaching student skills. And then a little bit about high school preparedness. So the rigor of the work at Schechter is great. I think there's a difference between work that's hard and work that's challenging. I would say work that's hard is work that's kind of unnecessarily difficult that you do, and it may take you a lot of time, but you're not actually learning important values and lessons. Whereas work that's challenging is work that teaches you the lessons as you progress and really helps you understand bigger ideas that you can then apply to other things. And I think, I'm just going to give a little example. I probably shouldn't be saying this, but I wrote a paper in 7th grade about the American judiciary system, and I actually submitted that paper for my sophomore English class, and I happened to get an A. I guess that just speaks a little to the rigor of the classes at Schechter.
We won't tell.
We teach our kids to work smarter, not harder.
Thank you so much, Joelle. So I know we could keep going on academics, and I'm sure there will be other questions, but I want to touch on a couple of other themes with the panel, and then we'll open it up. Danielle, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about kind of the social emotional experience here. We pride ourselves on really educating the whole child. It's not just about academics, it is also about that social emotional development in a really intentional way. Can you talk a little bit about your experience with your kids?
Sure. So as I mentioned, my children came to Schechter. My son was going into 4th grade, and my daughter was coming into second grade. And you know, my older daughter had been in public school, so you know, Schechter was always in the back of our minds, and finally it was time. It was time that we explored it, and the best way that I can describe it is it was probably the smoothest transition. We always felt like we were waiting for like the shoe to drop. You know, like, okay, everyone would say, how's it going? Are they getting used to it? How is it? It's going well. It's going well. They're learning Hebrew. You know, they were at a dual language school that they were learning Spanish, and now they've traded the Spanish for Hebrew. And I kept saying, it's going well. You know, my daughter and son both needed additional help with Hebrew because they were behind their peers. They were getting caught up just fine. And it just seemed to go great. And I kept waiting and waiting. And I think the difference was they would get to school every day, and it was sort of like getting a warm hug. I think that's sort of like the best way to describe it, is coming to a place where instead of maybe feeling tense and nervous like most school children do, it was a place where they were able to sort of exhale and feel comfortable and feel really calm and comfortable and feel safe among their peers, and a place that they could really be themselves. They felt really accepted. And it's, as I said, it's been one of the best decisions we've made. Some sort of anecdotes, it's been a place where they've really been able to sort of explore themselves. They have very different personalities, and they are very different learners. And where one, it's been such a safe place that, let's say he's been able to push boundaries in ways because he's felt safe in doing so. And in many ways I feel grateful that he has found a safe place to do that. And I feel immensely grateful for the staff that has given him the attention and the ability to sort of do so, but you know, correct it and meet him where his needs need to be met. I think coming here, they've found their community, they've found their friends, but so have my husband and I. I think that's the biggest thing, is socially, emotionally, their needs are being met, but as a family, our needs are also being met, which is a really big part of it.
Lauren, can you speak a bit to our Kahila curriculum and how we do that intentionally?
So I could talk about this for hours. It's my passion. So please cut me off, and I've been talking too much.
Watch the clock.
So there's so many pieces of this. The first thing is, when we think of school, we often think about the academic side of it, the math, the Hebrew, the reading, the writing. And we forget that those social, emotional pieces are actually skills. Now, some of us are just organically born and build those skills. And for other people, those skills have to be explicitly taught. So we have so many different ways that we are able to do that with our students from kindergarten through 8th grade. So we have a program, a curriculum called Second Step, where we are giving explicit directions and explicit opportunities to teach lessons to teach students skills like empathy, problem solving, how we deal with big feelings, how we can use self-talk to help us academically and socially. And then after we explicitly teach these lessons, we're able to give organic opportunities for them to practice these skills, because just like any academic skill, you need opportunities to be able to practice them in a safe place. And I think that's a really key piece of this is we have these really high expectations, but that is then followed by nurturing and kindness and warmth and it being a place where it's okay to make a mistake and we're here to help you. And so by having opportunities to explicitly teach some of these skills and then have opportunities to practice them and to make some mistakes along the way, it allows the children in this building to really become productive members of society and to become mensches and to learn skills. I tell my students this all the time that we're like learning different skills. I'm like, this is going to help you when you're an adult. Like I know adults that have a hard time solving problems with each other. Like you're going to be better than at this time some of your parents maybe. You could teach them some skills. So it's nice that we have this explicit curriculum that we can use. And then beyond that, we have a philosophy at our school that kids do well if they can. And it's something we truly believe. And we know that if a student is having a hard time, there has to be a reason for that. Kids are innately good people. They're good. No one is bad. Like kids are good. And if there is a challenging behavior, then it's our job as the adults in the building to figure out like, hey, like what's getting in the way? What skill do you maybe need to work on to help you be able to meet an expectation that we're holding? Like, how can we help you get there? So it's coming from a place of curiosity and wondering and relationship building instead of a place of judgment, right? We're not looking to teach anyone through like a punishment, or it's more learning how to teach a lesson so that kids can learn and grow from that. So.
Thank you. That was great.
Okay.
That's great. Lily, can you talk a little bit about, from this kind of social emotional perspective, what your experience was at Schechter, how it prepared you for once you left Schechter?
Yeah, so I think like for moving on to high school, people always worry like because you're coming from a school with such small people, and then for me like going to a big public school, and I was the only one from my grade that went to Highland Park High School. And I think the big thing that you have to remember is kind of everyone going into high school is kind of looking to meet new people. You're not really alone. And that's what you have to remember, because it could be nice walking into high school like, oh, I have a group of middle school friends to kind of hang on to, but at the end of the day, no one stays with their middle school friends for 4 years throughout high school. That just doesn't really happen. People are looking to meet new people. People are looking to have more friends. You know, you join clubs, you get involved with things. And I feel like you feel confident because at Schechter you have such a nice community that you know that you can always go back to if you need. You can always have those friends for the rest of your life. I still talk to my Schechter friends. And they're probably going to be in my life forever, which is really nice to know. But you move on, you meet new people, and you just have to kind of remember, like, it might take a little longer maybe because you're not going in with already having all those friends, but just be patient and remember, like, you're not alone. No one's alone. And I wouldn't trade that at all for my Schechter experience. I think it was 100% worth it.
So before I move on to the next theme, I just want to see on that question if anyone else from the panel or Suzanne and Nancy have anything that we didn't hit on or another anecdote that someone is dying to share. Scott?
So all of you are here because you probably have young kids, but eventually your kids will grow up to get to middle school, which is a really tough time as a parent for many. And the horror stories I hear from friends of ours who have kids in public school, like in the 6th, 7th, 8th grade years, those bar mitzvah years, where kind of social engineering and clickiness and exclusivity just runs rampant, is a zero here. It is, the kids really kind of view their grade as family, and everyone is included to every bar, bat mitzvah. never really heard any of my kids talk disparagingly about any other kids in the grade. It's really, I think as Lauren was saying, like a lot of empathy, and there's a bunch of respect that the kids give one another, which, I mean, I think that's part of the community here, and we were witnesses to it.
And I'll just piggyback just really quickly. The 8th graders are having their Shabbaton next weekend, which is a really special weekend for them. And our family had planned to go away next weekend, and prior to knowing the date of the Shabbaton. And my son said, absolutely not. He says, you're going to have to find a way to leave me here. There's no way I'm missing out on that weekend to be with my classmates. So that just speaks volumes to the connections that these kids have made with their classmates.
And I can just piggyback real quick, even, this is not a teacher moment, but this is a parent moment. My kids are 23, 21, and 18, and are still very connected to their Schechter friends. They travel, if they're coming home and they know someone's in town, they will make it a point to go see them. It is an experience to get an amazing education and to have these lifelong friends that they can know they can lean on and call on at any moment in time. And it's, to witness that, I mean, that itself that was worth it for me. But just, you know, no matter the age, that's the connection that we have.
All right, I'm gonna ask about one more theme, and then we'll see if there's anything else that anyone on the panel is, really wants to share, and then we'll open it up. So, Aviva, I would love to talk to you a little bit about, we're a Jewish day school. That's why we exist. All of these things are amazing, and we haven't talked so much yet about the Judaism part, right? And we talk about how we intentionally do joyful Judaism. We want our kids to really love being Jewish, gain those skills. I'd love to hear a little bit about your experience, and then we'll kind of come down the line with some of our other panel members.
Sure. I was trying to think of where to start because I actually feel like I could talk on this topic for a really long time. Judaism is alive and joyful and thriving in this space, and then that emanates out, right, into our families. I was even thinking about last week we had the Simchat Shabbat, which is a kindergarten milestone, and being able actually to share the live stream with grandparents who are not local, and really hearing their reaction to being able to see kind of this next generation of what it means for us to be preparing our children to be knowledgeable, connected, and full of pride about their Judaism was really special. I think this touches a little bit on some of the social emotional also, but I'll just say from the kindergarten one, and then I'll work my way up. My youngest is my slow to warm, cautious, takes some time. She was at the ACC at Schechter, and really the first few months of the year, teachers shared with us that she really didn't speak at school. And we were like blown away because she doesn't stop speaking at home, but she wasn't yet comfortable and hadn't quite found her voice. And we really weren't sure if she was ready for kindergarten or not, and really partnered with the school to say, help us through this journey. It's our third kid. We know a lot. We don't know everything. And let's figure out what's the right move for her. And I will say that just in partnering through that process of being able to look at her as an individual and figure out with us what the right path was, we ultimately decided she's in kindergarten this year. And 2 weeks into, yes, she's doing great. She has definitely found her voice. 2 weeks into school, she came home literally belting out Birkot HaShachar, like the morning tefillot, word for word. Prayers that I definitely didn't know at her age. And not just that she knows the words, right, because they've been sort of drilled into her in a rote way, but just she doesn't want to stop singing them. And it's not only tefillot, right? It's thinking about joining in, Birkat HaMazon. It's being able to talk to us about the holidays that are coming up. And not only let the sort of older kids dominate that conversation, but she's jumping in and being able to share with such joy and pride what she has learned in literally just 2 months of school. So I would say that's at the very young. The piece that I will say in terms of seeing my middle one, who's about to read Torah for her second time next week, and I had to change a work trip so that I could be back in time to see her read Torah, because she was like, you can't miss this. The literacy that they have with Hebrew language was super impressive to our family. I went to day school for 6th grade. My husband also did, and we both did not go to Jewish high school. And the ability that they have not only to read and to write, but to feel comfortable and confident with Hebrew language really truly has blown us away. And I will just say my 9th grader, who not only she's the only freshman in her Hebrew class, she's at Rochelle Zell, because that was an area that she's excelled in and needed to continue to be challenged in. I would say her favorite class, she'll say from middle school, was her Tanakh class, and the relationship that she built with her teacher, and really being able to think critically about what it means to be a Jew in this time. And I will say it's come up in her dance competition team and conversations that she's had to navigate with peers in complicated times, and to watch her feel comfortable and confident in doing that as a 14-year-old, I'm truly grateful that she's had this experience.
Can I just say something about
Sure.
that? I feel like one big thing that Schechter has given me is I know a lot of people who, especially with what's going on right now, they feel very strongly, but they don't feel comfortable talking about it because they're not very sure that they could articulate it well, or they don't want to get into a debate or anything because they're kind of not sure they would say the wrong thing. But I feel like me and my friends that went to Schechter, they feel very confident being able to have those conversations with other people because that's what they grew up with. I mean, I'm on the debate team at my high school, so maybe that's just part of my nature. But, like, you grow up with kind of this always kind of being part of your life, being talked about in your home, being talked about at school, so you feel comfortable having those conversations. And also being at public school, like, you face it a lot, and it's important that you have those conversations with people, and I think that Schechter has given me strong confidence to stand my ground and know that I can have a calm, collected, logical discussion with someone that doesn't end in, like, I don't want to hear what you have to say, or, like, educate people. It's important. So I think that's a really big thing Schechter's given me.
I think that Israel education has always been a very big part of our school and our curriculum, and even more so now. And like Lauren had touched upon before, like being a lifelong learner, we take time out of our professional development to talk about Israel and read literature and be in a book, what they call the book?
Book clubs.
Book clubs, thank you. Book clubs to discuss the books in small groups, as in Chavruta style as well, with just our colleagues. And with the unfortunate, war happening in the displacement of many, Israelis, we welcomed them into our school, and to model that for our students, that these are, Jews just like we are, that are coming from a different place, and a place that we hold dearly to our, deep in our hearts. And they welcomed them. We just actually had a student come back to visit just a couple weeks ago, and they were so excited. So it's not only the Judaics and the Hebrew and the Tefillah, but it's our love of Israel that is so strong as well.
And Roni, you've taught Judaic studies 1st through 4th grade, so can you give, from the teaching perspective, a little bit about this topic?
Of course. I will have to touch a lot of points that they were talking. I was waiting and kind of letting you observe before I give you the taste of Yahadut, Judaism. I love that we are in school here. We touch the text, we teach the text, and we are able to differentiate to each one's level of understanding. Their Chumash study based on their Hebrew understanding, based on the level of ability to retain and then continue. We love that, for example, if a new student comes in, and I know you talked about it, when a child, that they have to pull them during Jewish studies, but they still got the Jewish studies kind of completing what they missed, like the gap. was not created. We were trying to catch up the gaps throughout the years and not being left out. Oh, I was living Jewish studies and it's not there. I love that it's all day, lifelong, that just living it, starting from tefillah in the morning. Each grade, they have tefillah, even kindergarten, till 8th grade. And Jewish studies is Chumash, Chagim, the holidays, and Ivrit. Ivrit is also differentiated, same with our Jewish studies curriculum. It's all differentiated based on our child. We follow the Chanoch Chanal Lefi Darko, as adapt the learning to your child. Students learn if they can, and that's our philosophy, that's our motto. Same in Judaism.
Can I talk about what happened this morning with our second
Sure,
graders
go for it.
a second? So every year there's a different milestone event that happens. And this morning, the second graders received their first Siddur. And they talked about what that meant to them to receive their Siddur. And I am so serious that on their own, they came up with things like, getting my first Siddur makes me feel more connected to the Jewish people, or more connected to God, more connected to Israel. This is a big responsibility. I mean, these are like 7 and 8-year-olds, their own words. And I always say there's a first grade program called Partners with God that I think that the marketing team should just send out to everyone, because I think if you watch it, you'll be like, yeah, sign me up. I would like to send my child to Schechter. And these kids, what these young children are able to come up with and feel naturally is beautiful. And my face hurts from smiling at them all morning as they were, chanting the different tefillot, and they were just so proud, and it made them feel like such a part of our amazing Jewish community. So
Another example was this morning we had, it's also process of learning. We celebrated learning with hands-on as well. They made a soup, 4th graders, they made soup learning about selling the birthright. And while they were eating the soup, after they made it, I hear the debate. Wait, I would definitely buy this soup I would sell the bracha for these specials. So when they're eating and I hear the debate, that's beautiful, that's unique, that's what we're doing in our school. That's what the experimental learning with the text, hands-on, having fun, and throughout preparing them for Tichon, for high school.
I'll
Great,
actually
go
touch
ahead,
on that a
Yoav.
little. So,
For it.
yeah, so preparing me for high school. So before I went to Rochelle Zell Jewish High School, I actually went to Evanston Township High School, and through Schechter, I was really able to develop my Jewish identity as a Jewish adult. And when I transitioned from Schechter to Evanston Township, I felt like a little isolated, because I didn't really have that same community, that same Jewish community that I had at Schechter. And that was actually part of my decision into transferring to Rochelle Zell Jewish High School, because I had such a close community that I developed my Jewish identity, and I learned about my culture and my heritage and all these different prayers, that I felt like I was missing something when I was at a public high school. And I think that's something that's really important, and that Schechter instilled in me, and was the reason I ended up transferring.
Okay.
I just want to speak to, because we touched on tefillah, we spoke on Hagim. One thing that I think is just so beautiful about Schechter is the range that exists within Schechter of observance. Some families may not keep Shabbat, some keep Shabbat. There's such a wide range, and I see it among my children, the ability for them to connect and come together at school and have friendships together among their, observance differences. And I just think that they all learn from each other in such beautiful, beautiful ways. And I just think that, it's such a beautiful place that even as a parent, I'm learning every day from my kids. So I just think it's a full circle effect.
So we could probably keep going for hours, but I'm going to actually press the pause button and see if there are other questions from anyone in the group. You've got administrators, parents, alumni, teachers, so questions can really go to anybody. Yes?
You talked a lot about differentiated learning. I'm curious specifically in the middle school, are their classes leveled, or is everyone together in the class and then you're picking out of who needs more help and how to differentiate, or are they actually done by specific ability?
Suzanne will take that.
Sure.
Hi.
So we call it our upper grades. It's a small difference. Our upper grades start in 5th grade, so it's 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. 5th and 6th grade are tied together, and 7th and 8th grade are tied together. We try to hold the students as tightly as we can while they're still changing classes in 5th and 6th grade. They have fewer teachers in 5th and 6th grade than they have in 7th and 8th grade. So that's one of the ways that we start a little smaller. And they stay mostly in one part of the building. So they do have to traverse a couple times, but they're mostly in one area. Our language arts, social studies, science, and Judaic studies are not leveled. So Judaic studies in our upper grades is more like a language arts class. So you're going to find that this was really touched upon by the panel, that they're looking at text, they're thinking about how do we analyze it, what do we think about it, so they're reading, writing, thinking, speaking in 2 different languages, and there's differentiation in the classroom for the variety of levels, because there is a range of levels of Hebrew and a range of levels of experience, and we are very purposeful about not leveling those classes because we believe that students should learn from a variety of learners, and we also recognize, as already touched upon, that students can have strengths and challenges in lots of different areas. We want to give them an opportunity to have learning with lots of different peers. Our math and Hebrew classes are leveled, and really the leveling it's different classes. In the lower grades, we do, as Lauren touched upon, flexible grouping, so they will look before each unit and do a pre-test and math, and they will decide and look at that data, and then they will decide how they're going to divide the students up. It's pretty flexible. We also offer enrichment and resource support in math as well in the lower grades. And then in Hebrew, we do, starting in 3rd and 4th grade, we will level them, but we do continually assess. One of the things that we make sure of is that Hebrew and math happen at the same time for the entire grade. And so we can flexibly group very easily because it doesn't change your entire schedule if you are going to change groups. In our upper grades, we have different levels for Hebrew. We also offer a Hebrew class for students who are coming in who have not taken Hebrew before because we have recognized they haven't had the skills, so we can't expect them to know Hebrew. And so we are looking at data, we're looking at different assessments, and we also have protocols if parents say, I really don't think this is the right level for my child. We have put in both math and Hebrew, we have different protocols how we are going to decide if yes, we are going to move someone or no. And for our math classes, one thing that we can also show you if you're more interested in that, I don't know where Hillary went, but she'll be back. This is something you could talk to her about. Another time we have a whole math pathway system that shows you if you're in this pathway, here are most likely the classes you would be taking in high school. Obviously, every high school is a little different, and we can't create a pathway for every single high school our students go to, because that's actually a lot of them. So that are the ways that we level.
And I'll just add to that, because it's a common question, is that for math, our highest level, you actually finish 2 years of high school math, high school algebra, and high school geometry by the time you're in 8th grade. So not all of our students are in that track, but that is a track that's available for kids who are ready for that more rigorous curriculum. Other questions? Feel free to just, especially if you're behind me, just jump in. Behind you. Go ahead, jump in.
Yeah, someone mentioned that their child had transferred as a 2nd grader, 3rd grader, and by the time you get to middle school, there's the grade has become quite a family. I'm curious what it looks like for a child who transfers in as a middle schooler, and how you help them kind of break into the family, and what mechanisms are in place.
Great. I'm actually going to have Nancy take that one, if she's okay, because she was the 7th and 8th grade principal for several years.
I would be so happy to take it, and I apologize, I didn't hear you well. Do you mind repeating it?
Yes, when someone is transferring into the upper grades, 7th and 8th grade, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in those middle school years, what does it look like to welcome someone in, right? It's one thing for a 2nd grader to come in and be welcomed in. What is it like in the upper grades?
Sure. Danielle touched on it a little bit when she talked about transferring in, but we know that change is hard for adults, we know change is hard for kids. We are really thoughtful before kids even show up into this school, not just to assign the student a buddy, but to assign the family a buddy family, somebody that you can go have lunch with one weekend before school starts, or that the kids can go play basketball at the park where you get to know the parents. And then once they come to our school, they're assigned somebody to sort of roam around with, right? Because until they feel comfortable in the building, and then we change it once we see who they connect to, right? Because who we pick might not be their chosen friend. And so we can say, it looks like you're really loving hanging out with Maytal. We're going to change up our buddies, and you're going to be hanging out with Maytal. They also do check-ins for the first 2 months with our school social worker. Every week, our social worker checks in. How are things going? Are you understanding the systems? Are you knowing what your homework is? Who did you sit with at lunch? What did recess look like for you? And then on top of that, an administrator reaches out to the parents multiple times in that first year to check in, because we recognize the adolescents don't always tell all of the grown-ups in their lives the exact same things, and it's important that all the people who are taking care of them are on the same page, that I know what they're saying to you, and you know what they're saying to their teacher, so that the kid sees us as their team. That all the people who are in charge of them are on your child's team, have their back, and know what to do. And we work really hard. I know that a couple of people on our panel talked about Kihila, which is our version of homeroom, and Kihila means community. We thoughtfully and purposefully build community. Our older kids are actually in our smallest groupings to start and end every single one of their days. That means in groups of 10-ish kids every morning for the first half hour, where an adult is checking on them. They want to see what they look like when they walk in. And then they are with that same adult at the end of the day. Hey, I noticed that you look a little stressed, more so than when you walked in. What happened? And it's an opportunity for that child to say, I don't know, I was really lost in math class today. And then very quickly, that teacher is going to connect with the math teacher and say, just so you know, and all of a sudden, there's some emailings happening at night. Our goal is that we know our kids as people, and that our kids know us as people, and that we're able to really form the connections and relationships that allow us to build the academic competence and the social emotional skills that they need to head out into the world. So is it always as easy as Danielle said? It's not. But we work really hard to make it as easy as possible, and that when there's bumps, to acknowledge them and to make a really strong plan so that the kid knows we have their back, and so that the family understands exactly what we're doing to make sure that they have what they need. And when Suzanne and I meet with new families, we say, 6 weeks. It takes 6 weeks to find your people in the upper grades. It doesn't mean that you're not going to try lots of different people, but as soon as you get through that piece, it means you know the building, you know your academics, you know the teachers, you know the names, you find your place.
All 3 of my kids became good friends with a new student coming into middle school. So, it's three wins.
I think there's also a culture in this school that is very much there. We use the WhatsApp groups a lot, and I think that there is something there that's inherent to anytime a new parent, a new kid, there is just like this welcoming nature that parents right away, a welcome, you know, we'd love to, like, please reach out, we'll get you in touch. And there's also this policy that the school has with any sort of gathering, birthday party, that you're not going to find at any other school. And it's a very inclusive policy. If you're going to have a birthday party, I don't know the specifics of it offhand, but it's essentially to make sure that no one really feels left out. And I think that what other school does that? I mean, truly, this school is finding ways to make sure that kids are really not left out, which speaks volumes.
Other questions, yeah?
Hi. I wanted to learn a little bit more from a parent, teacher, and student perspective about how different levels of Jewish observance are discussed, especially when talking about, text from the Talmud versus what you do at home, birthday parties, Saturday versus Sunday, and wanting to understand how those are valued by the school and how families can support kids in that as well.
I'm happy to start because it was something that I was hoping to be able to touch upon. Danielle started it. I'll just say we are a Shabbat observant family. We live in Skokie. I think there are families that come from lots of different parts of this area. I think one of the things for us that I think has been really beautiful in terms of being able to really raise your kids in a Schechter community. My kids have friends who practice Jewishly differently, kind of really all across the board. I would say what's been amazing is really kind of the level of respect and communication. So our family observes kashrut. My middle, I can remember multiple times, right, with playdates and friends where parents were checking in to say, like, this is our plan. Is this okay with you? This is what we do. How can we make sure that Roni's comfortable? And even just being able to have those conversations, those aren't, like, that's not a weird thing, right, to be able to talk about. And for people to really feel comfortable. I'll let the school speak. There are some specific policies and guidelines around when birthday parties are held, not on Shabbat and not on holidays, and when B'nai Mitzvah begin, right, to allow really for everybody in the community to be able to have the same level of access. And I'll just say I think it's amazing, right, that my kids get to have friends who live Jewishly in lots of different ways.
We see examples in, we talked about the Kehillah. Kehillah is the community and how we welcome each one in which is their observance. We love to see that circle. We call it the morning meeting before we start the second step, where we greet each other. And then questions can be, what did you do over the weekend, over Shabbat? So each one jumps in and share, oh, I went to shul, or I had a Shabbat dinner with a so-so family, or I went to a basketball game. And being able to share exactly with confidence and be open about and respect each other's observance, it's very unique and it's beautiful. That way we kind of pluralistically welcome everybody no matter what.
And as Aviva mentioned, there are actual guidelines in the handbook that talk about times for birthday parties. It also talks about specific food that can and can't be served at birthday parties, and we have policies around food in our building to make sure that students are not sharing food, so there isn't anything that happens by accident for allergy reasons and kashrut reasons as well.
I think that having beyond just the guidelines, having a diverse Jewish student body is something that's very special. As someone who I like probably around 5th grade, I wasn't even wearing a kippah, but then I was looking at other people of different levels of observance, and now I wrap tefillin every single day. And just observing different people and hearing about their traditions and having just this collaborative environment is something that's really special and allows people to try different things and hear about different ways that people practice Judaism, and I think it's very special.
I was just going to add real quick, since I'm with the kindergarten class, we start, with the young ones, I'm sure the ECC as well, but to speak for the kindergarten and the 5 and 6-year-olds, we have a morning question every morning, and it varies, like, do you have a J in your name? Or did you, after Sukkot, were you in a sukkah over the Chag? And, some kids either a yes or a no. And they're like, oh, I did. They're like, that's okay. Like, maybe I can call and they can come to our sukkah. And I was like, no big deal. Guess what? We have a sukkah here at school. So even if you don't have one at home, here when you're at Schechter, we're all going to have an opportunity to have a sing-along with Rabbi Jonathan, or have our snack, or have a little, do some art and decorate for the, So whatever the Chag is and whatever your celebration or your minhag is in your own home, here we're all doing the same thing. Here we're learning about how we can be mensches and say, oh, it's okay, I can't, you can't have that, or maybe we'll call your mom, we'll call mine, or my grown-up will call your grown-up, whatever. So they start, and they just want to be, inclusive and inviting and loving, and it starts very, very young. Like, you're not wrong and I'm not right. We're the same. We just celebrate maybe a little bit differently, right? But it's all about how you respect everybody's choices. But when we're at school, we all keep kosher, and we all celebrate Shabbat, and, we all sing the same brachot and tefillot, and we have the sukkah, and we, do hakafot with the Torah all together, and we come, as a big kahila. So what you do in your own minhag is at your choice, but it's so respected in every level, and we start really young to try to, drill that into them, instill that.
Did you have, you look
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I echo what everyone said, both as a parent, we're a Shomer Shabbat household, but one of my kids' favorite things is inviting people over for Shabbat. And so we always love having people over and coming to share dinner with us or lunch, or even they've had friends sleep over, and their friends are so excited. Like, we're not going to use any screens. I'm like, that's right. It's very exciting. But I also did want to touch on one piece of your question that I also think is important. We are a conservative day school, so we very much have a community population, and we celebrate that, and it is very beautiful, and I think it's already been said. And there are decisions that we make that are based on the conservative movement. And you see that, I think, a lot in our tefillot, what tefillot we say, or different decisions that are made for the school. We have a conservative rabbi who helps drives those decisions. So I do think it is important to still note that we are a conservative day school.
other questions? Did you have something?
It's not a question, it's just a comment. I just wanted to say that this is extremely refreshing. So thank you to all of you. That's it.
They did great, didn't they? They were so great. Are there any other burning questions? Yes?
I just have one. I know you spoke a little bit about how you're able to accommodate all the different needs of different children, different learners. For children that require extra services, speech, OT, PT, what kind of collaboration, communication is there?
Do one of you want to take that?
So in terms of speech and occupational therapy, so we do not have a speech therapist or an occupational therapist on faculty. So for children who have a need for those kinds of services, they have outside providers. We do work with families if they would like to have their outside providers come into school. And we try and make that work so they can have, and like we figure out when the right time is, and making sure everything aligns, and that there's a space. So we, all those things align, which it typically does. Your child could get their services during school hours. We have a person who will work with you for that. We do have, as Shauna mentioned, we have a new program where it is a partnership with Keshet, where students who are qualifying for that program would have access to some of Keshet's speech and OT therapy. For right now, it's just in kindergarten, and we're seeing how we're hoping to grow the program. But it really depends on the needs of the child.
And I'm happy to share just my personal story. As a mom, I have a second grader who gets speech and physical therapy, and her speech pathologist actually comes here every week and has been in contact with our director of student services just to sort of give some tips and tricks that may be helpful to her in the classroom. She also has a private physical therapist who has sent in information about her specific needs. And just as an example, over the years she's had some special adaptive seating in the classroom that she just thinks is cool and fun, and scratches her tush a little bit to help her sit up straight. And some of the exercises have been given to our physical ed teachers, who have both incorporated them into the grade-wide classes because they're just great exercises to build up everyone's core strength. And also, both her classroom teachers and the phys ed teachers have given her a couple of minutes when she has needed a break to go do some of those exercises, either in their own private office or in the hallway. And so we work really hard to make it work, to make it totally part of who she is as a human and a developing human, and she is happy to talk to anyone who's willing to listen to her about all her special people around her. And she is comfortable because of her teachers making it part of who she is and embracing all of the things that she needs to be successful in the classroom. And I will also say that as a school, we have a really lovely partnership with Northbrook District 27, and they are in our building every week, working with our teachers, families, and students to evaluate our kids when it's needed, to help us have deeper understanding of how we can best support them in their classroom. And then our student services team is I've worked in, I don't know, many schools at this point in time. It is the best I've ever seen. They are thoughtful and dedicated and diligent and just have this incredible desire to figure out what each individual child needs and then makes a plan to help them get it.
I'll also mention that weekly we have team meetings where the teachers get together and we talk about any students who might need extra support. And if you have a student who's maybe seeing an outside speech therapist or an outside occupational therapist and you give consent, not only will the student service director collaborate with the outside provider, but the teacher will too, so that the teacher can implement some of those strategies in the classroom, because we know how important it is that you're getting consistency across the board.
I'm just gonna.
I was just gonna say, like, everyone keeps talking about like the customization and flexibility, and one experience that I wanted to highlight during my time here was when COVID started and how incredible and capable the whole team was, led by her, to kind of get this thing rolling. I think what were we online in like 2 or 3 days?
It took us 3 days to get 400 kids online.
And
And then open.
Yeah,
The
and then we
following,
were open
the following.
And then open in the fall, and
Yeah.
that wasn't easy, given just kind of the sentiment in the community, but it was everything for all the kids and the parents too. So, like, that ability to be flexible and pivot, whether it was October 7th, and then now we've got to sort of talk to that, to some of the older kids and explain it in a comprehensible way. I think many of you are probably deciding between a public school and this, and these guys' success in sort of pivoting when things get challenging is, I think, one of the things you're buying in coming here. Hopefully you don't have to deal with that stuff.
Yeah, but I'll add to that, just from a leadership perspective, you know, both with COVID and with October 7th, I kind of kept waiting for the teachers to say to the leadership team and I, you know, you guys are nuts. What you're asking us to do is crazy. Like, no, we can't do this. And then, right, whether it was going online in 3 days, or whether it was being open when the public schools were closed, or whether it was welcoming in close to 30, I think, Israeli students with like no real application process, just like, come on in, you're here, come. And it's a testament to the commitment of our faculty. I mean, that is really what makes this place so extraordinary, the leadership team that we have and the commitment of the faculty. I mean, that is really all of these things, right, that I'm sitting here with such pride. It's because we have the commitment of the faculty. You know, sometimes I'll be on calls with other heads of school, and there can be some griping about, you know, there's a little bit of a revolution on my faculty, or they're giving me a hard, you know, time about this. And I always kind of sit there. I try not to smile too much because I don't want to make them feel badly, but I have such gratitude at what we have here in our faculty. So I'm aware it's 8:15, and I want to just ask the panel, and Suzanne, is there anything that you didn't say that you feel like, oh my gosh, we cannot walk out with me not saying?
Come join us.
I'm sure there may be more questions. I'm happy to stick around for a few minutes. If you haven't already come for a tour, I really encourage you to contact Hillary to come, because there's nothing quite like seeing it in action, right? You got to hear what it looks like, what the impact is, but to be able to come in, see it in action can be really powerful. And then we can get into more logistical questions too, right? I know some people are like, what time does school start and end? And that's not what we focus on tonight, but we're happy to give you answers to those questions as well. Do you have any closing words of next steps or anything?
I guess just to reiterate what Lena said, I encourage you all, if you haven't yet, to come for a tour. I see many faces in here, and I know we've spent some time together, which is lovely. So please reach out. I know these are all very complex and nuanced discussions and decisions, and we're here to support you. So please reach out. And we'll look forward to what comes next.
Can we give our panel a round of applause? Thank you so much for being here, willing you off. Thank you so much, because you're the product. Thank you all so much. Thank you, everyone, for coming, and just let us know if you have additional questions, and have a great evening. I think there are treats, is there something outside? There's some treats on.